Welcome back, everybody. It's your time net up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio here for the maybe 900th time or around there as we continue to earn and burn our way through amazing interviews and spit them out the other side so you can hear from the most innovative and amazing leaders in and around higher education today, including ed tech, K-12. We're all over the place. We do this a lot, as you guys know. If you're in higher ed or following higher ed right now, as this episode is recorded, you will hear one acronym that will strike fear into your heart. It's FAFSA. It maybe not fear, but certainly a little bit of sweat rolling down your back. As we work as administrators to get students, it's the craziest thing. As we work to get students financial information that they should have had months ago, that they have been waiting on, and all of us, I think many of us out there have real world examples, not just of the students that we serve at our institution, but our brothers and sisters and parents and friends and neighbors that are going through this same thing at institutions that are not yours. And everybody is struggling to get information out. It's been one heck of a journey. Hopefully, if you've got the right mix or recipe of technology, of support, of innovation and change, because you got to change on a dime with some of these things, you're hopefully getting those packages out to students, and those students are choosing to go to college, right? That's the thing. It's not about choosing this institution or that institution. It's about these students literally not choosing to go to college, and what downstream effect does that have on our ability to be an educated society, for these people to earn money in their lives. Many out there would say, well, don't worry about it. They'll get education somewhere else. Well, I don't know about that. I'm not so sure. I think there's great value in higher education, and we need to do a better job of communicating that value to the masses, because those that don't value it do a much better job of being detractors of higher ed than we do as fans of higher ed. So we got to do a better job. And I brought somebody with me. He's a raving fan of the EdUp Experience podcast. That's why he's here. And I'm a raving fan. If you don't know this gentleman, if you've not seen his setup that he does when you see him at a conference, it is next level stuff. Why do I know this? Because he had a DeLorean at his last conference set up that I sat in. And it was a lifelong dream of mine to be in a DeLorean from Back to the Future. And I took like a million pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the one and only Robert Ferilli. He's the CEO and founder of Ferilli. Rob, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I have my EdUp mug here.
I'll send you $10 later for that. Thank you.
Oh, look, I've been saving this the whole time for the time you invite me to guest host the podcast. So.
And you held it up twice, which means that's two $10 bills now I owe you. So how are you, Rob?
Certainly appreciate being out here. Everything is going great. It's the most wonderful time of the year in higher education. The time where we, commencement, and we graduate our students, and so happy for all our clients and the people that we support. And it's just a great time of year, and very excited.
Really is it. And I want to give you a chance because I know you. I get to get out on the conference scene and see you sometimes, and I'm plugging your setup that you have. But Ferilli is an IT consulting company that helps institutions with their IT needs. And take a minute, since you're here and you're my buddy. This is my podcast. Why don't you just plug your business while we're here?
Look, we like to be the #1 employer in higher education. We like to be the first call for colleges and universities that are seeking innovation or have problems that they need solved. And so just like everything we do, we want our booths to be #1, as you've seen. We are the 2-time winner of the Ellucian Implementation Partner of the Year Award. And we have partnerships with various organizations that support higher education. And I like to say that we're the people that make the technology run and help with the change management in order to meld in technology with your folks at your institution.
Victory!
I forgot to tell my guest that I use an episode sound effect, so I wanted to play one so she gets the idea.
There's lots of sound effects. I didn't.
Victory!
Yeah. So anyway, we're what you said is interesting. You said we're at a great time of year, and it is. Commencement is the best time of year. One fact that we often don't think about, or maybe we don't think about it until later, is that when we lose students in a good way, right, the best way, which is they commence, to keep our population and revenues up in higher education, we got to replace all those students. And typically we know how many we're going to have right around this time of year. And it's a little bit fuzzy right now. It's
fuzzy math.
In some instances. And we've brought a president to the microphone today to tell us exactly how to do this. No pressure, of course, on the microphone. We want to make sure that we give you the best tips we can, but we're all fighting through the same stuff. Let's get her on right now. Her name is Deanne D'Amelio. She is the president of Gwynedd Mercy University. Deanne, how are you?
I'm fine, Joe. Thank you and Robert for having me on the podcast today.
Well, you're going to answer all our burning questions about how to get through all this muck that we're in. But before you give us all your secrets, tell us about Gwynedd Mercy University. Where are you located? What do you do? And how do you do it?
So thanks. Gwynedd Mercy University is in Gwynedd Valley, Pennsylvania, which is in Lower Gwynedd Township, kind of between Bluebell and a little bit Montgomeryville, if you know where that is, outside of Philadelphia. And we have been here for 75 years. We're in fact celebrating our 75th anniversary all year, founded in October of 1948 by the Sisters of Mercy. And ever since that time, we have been a school that offers programs in the liberal arts with within the Mercy tradition. We are very well known for preparing nurses and teachers, but also folks in criminal justice, accounting, business, and all the other programs that you would typically find at a small private Catholic institution. And so what the sisters started was really about providing education for women back then who did not have access to a college education. So while we've been co-ed for decades now, the mission of really still providing and meeting that next great need is still here. And so we serve a very diverse population, and we have about 700 or 800 graduate students now as well. So I can certainly talk in more specifics about the kind of students we graduate, but commencement for us was Saturday.
Oh, you just had it.
We just had it, and it absolutely is the best day of the year that we see. We had two ceremonies, one for graduate, one for undergraduate. And it was just such an affirming experience. We still have almost 60% first generation students. So to see how excited they are and how transformational the experience has been for them and their families is why I've been doing this for 25 years.
You know, the area that you're in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia is well known to those in higher education watching trends. It's a competitive area. It's been shrinking in some instances because of the birth rate. And, you go back in time and we have the enrollment cliff, everything's the enrollment cliff. Standing out is important, the marketing, the messaging, and you just kind of talked about that value proposition a little bit in the way you talk about the university. What do you think really separates Gwynedd Mercy from your local competitors? And even more than that, why you think going to school is important for students in general?
Yeah, so let me start with that. I am such a strong believer in the power of higher education. Personally, I've experienced it. I've experienced it with my own children, but as I said, I've been doing this in some capacity for 25 years, started out as a faculty member. So I've witnessed the transformational power of higher education. The data is clear about the difference that it makes, both in the amount of money you can earn, which is clear. People who have college degrees earn more money in their lifetimes. They have lower unemployment rates. They definitely have more flexibility. They are more socially, civically engaged, in their communities, that kind of thing. And they are definitely better able to adapt to the changes that we're all experiencing. I actually was talking to one of our own staff members who graduated on Saturday, who kind of finished his degree then. And what he said to me was really just sort of summed it up. He said, it really has changed the way that I think.
Tell it like it is.
And I just thought that, well, that's just really sums up what a college education is really all about. And so what I would say about how we do that here and how we stand out at Gwynedd Mercy in, yes, a very competitive market in southeastern Pennsylvania, is we really talk about, first of all, our mission and our heritage with the Sisters of Mercy and meeting that next great need. And our students do that. And then we also have some really great, I think, outcomes that we talk about. The fact that we are in the top 6% in the nation for 10-year earnings, and that we have a 96% placement rate for graduates within 6 months. But if you talk to our students and some of our graduates that are all over the world doing all sorts of things, you can see, and they all talk about the difference that the attention they got here and the grounding in the Mercy mission made for them as they go out and do, whatever it is they're doing, because they really are all over the world. So that is how we differentiate ourselves, is talking about that attention grounded in the Mercy mission, and then the concrete outcomes that we have that we can talk about.
I want to get into that more, but I know Robert's been sitting around, and I've got to know, Robert.
Are you going to help me now or not?
Absolutely. What I am interested, President D'Amelio, is could you share about your personal journey that led you to become president of Gwynedd Mercy University?
Sure. Well, I didn't start out to be a college president, let me say that. I am by training an attorney and was practicing law in and around my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And thought I because of life circumstances, because I had 2 children, I made the decision to try to do something else because I needed something a little more flexible when my children were young. I have a teaching degree as well and a master's in higher education before I went to law school. And so I started looking for a teaching position, and I happened to find one at Mount Aloysius College, which is a small Sisters of Mercy school between Johnstown and Altoona. And they hired me to teach law classes to undergraduates. And let me tell you, it was 65 miles from my home, and I stayed for 15 years. And I taught, and I became a dean, and I learned higher education, was on all the committees, did middle states, all of the things that you do in higher education. It was a great experience. And, but it was 3 hours round trip a day. So after 15 years, I was fortunate to receive a call from Carlow University, which is in Pittsburgh, which is where my home is and where I was living. And it's also founded by the Sisters of Mercy. And I went to Carlow and I became the provost there. It was a wonderful experience. Again, same type of community, and I loved it. And I worked with President Suzanne Mellon. And, then when you're a provost, you start to get inquiries from search firms. And the search firm reached out to me and said, Gwynedd Mercy University was looking for a president. I had never been to Gwynedd Mercy. I knew of it because of the Mercy Network. And I thought, well, if I was ever going to be a university president, I would want it to be at a Mercy school. I love the mission. And like I said, I know what the power of what we do is with the students. So I decided that I would, see what this was about. And that was 7 years ago.
Epic.
And it worked out. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place, wonderful community. And again, driven by the heritage and the mission of the Sisters of Mercy.
That's an incredible story. you talk about that you're celebrating your 75th anniversary at Gwynedd, and if I follow correctly, it's 75 years of female leadership
Yes,
at
I'm
Gwynedd.
number 6. It was founded by women. It's only ever been led by women.
Excellent.
And so during the 7-year period, what are some of the key achievements or milestones at G Mercy U under your leadership?
So I would say in the last maybe 4 years, well, let me start with the pandemic. We got through the pandemic, but also during that time, we had the occasion to purchase real estate. It was actually before the pandemic that we purchased a parcel of land adjacent to our campus. And we originally had contemplated that we would develop that campus into a healthcare type of campus. And then pandemic came, and obviously our attention was elsewhere. And then, we started to get interest in that parcel because the real estate market was heating up here in this area. So the board and I really started to look at options about what we could or couldn't do around this healthcare campus idea, and also, what should we do? What made the most sense? So, after that whole process, I'm really happy to say that, just a few years later, we sold that property, and the key is that we bought it for $12.1 million. And we sold it for $31.5 million.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it gave us an opportunity, that we probably will never have again, to increase our endowment by, I think it was around 70%, and gave us certainly more flexibility than some of our peers at that time coming out of the pandemic, because we sold it in February of 22.
Gotta love the real estate market on the East Coast sometime. It's nice.
I know. And it was just the way it worked out. We had a trustee who was a real estate developer, and we really took the lead on it and really helped us navigate that. At the same time, like I said, we had wanted to use it to develop a healthcare innovation campus. So at the same time, I had been talking with the McGuire Foundation, and we were fortunate to receive a $10 million gift to put the healthcare innovation campus on our current campus. And we did have the space for that. So we are, as we speak, about to put shovels in the ground for the Francis M. McGuire Healthcare Innovation Campus, named after Mrs. McGuire. And yes, we're very excited about that, to really build on our reputation and, again, our outstanding outcomes in not just nursing, certainly nursing, but all the other healthcare programs that we have. State-of-the-art simulation and space for students to work. Our real vision is for students to work in interprofessional teams and really start to integrate some of that innovation in healthcare, because we all know that's a growing area and will continue to change. And we want to be on the front edge of that. So I'm very proud of those things. Those are the things I would point to right off the top.
It's interesting because there's 17 schools in the Mercy network, right?
Yes.
And how can you talk about the interconnectedness a little bit? And the reason I ask is because higher ed we're going through some tough times at some schools. We're seeing some schools close. We're seeing schools shrink. Sometimes that perspective isn't there, right? Where if the schools that close, you go, okay, where was the board? Where was the decision making 2 years ago when we maybe were in a positive way? So having 17 other sister schools might add that perspective, much needed perspective on timing and place and finance and so on. Can you talk about its interconnectedness a little bit and how you might pull from each other's experience?
Yes. I mean, we talk about that all the time, Joe, I have to say. We do meet, the presidents meet at least once a year, and even some of the vice presidents in what's called the Conference for Mercy Higher Education. Do have that. And there's an executive director of the Conference for Mercy Higher Ed. So So there are some facilitated conversations about that. But, you know, it is challenging sometimes. They're in different parts of the country. Pennsylvania has the most. We have 5 Mercy schools in Pennsylvania, and that's the most of any state. And so we have one that's maybe an hour and 20 minutes from us and one that's 2 hours north of us. So I think those conversations happen, but they are also challenging because everybody has a different set of issues that they're trying to address. So they're ongoing, I would say. Even here, like in the southeastern part of Pennsylvania, there's, you know, consortia that, you know, schools try to talk to each other for the same thing, to find synergies and ways to collaborate, you know, to find efficiencies, things like that. So I think the Mercy Network does a pretty good job, but I think there's still work to be done around that, because, you know, we just saw the final commencement of one of our neighboring schools this weekend. And it is sad. It is sad when, even though it's so competitive here, it's sad when one of those schools with their own particular heritage and charism closes, because they did fill a spot in the landscape here. And but yes, it's going to continue to be a challenge. There's no question.
Yeah, I find it, you know, you make such a good point when a school closes. Yeah, you know, your brain goes, okay, competition, you know, you think about the students, you think about all these things that have to be taken care of. But in the end, going back to your original point, I told you we'd come back to it, on the value of higher education, it gives the detractors an excuse to go, see, we told you that the value of higher education isn't there, and this school closed. And then kids and adults who are looking at school go, oh, is this next school one that's going to experience the same? Maybe I'll just wait longer if years go by. Do you worry about that at all? Is it something that comes up in discussion? You know, do you see that happening?
I do worry about the negative narrative about higher education. And as I said, you know, personally feel passionately about the opposite and showing people, you know, why that is not true. And so I think as a college president, I absolutely have the obligation to make sure that when I'm, you know, talking to people, that I make a point of saying that. And I do every single time that I'm in front of a group of people, certainly at open houses, accepted students day, that sort of thing. And talk about the value of education and really kind of hit it head on. Because there are definitely people who are sitting there listening to me who are like, just what you just said. Well, you know, I heard or I read this article or whatever about how X, Y, and Z. And so it's up to me to say, well, here's what happens at Gwynedd Mercy. Here's why it absolutely is of value. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to show you why. And that is what I try to do when I do talk to people. But I do worry about it because, you know, people say things enough times, that becomes the narrative. And then people don't question it. They just think that it's a fact. And I'm big on facts as a lawyer. So, so I am absolutely big on the facts and on information. So that's what I like to use.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
There you go. Well, you had that ready to go.
I did. I time them sometimes right. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I want to jump in here because I would say I think there's an opportunity here because Gwynedd Mercy was front and center in helping students transition from that closure. Is there something or that you can share for other institutions that might be doing outreach or supporting students in that time of transition? Because I will say, from what I've read in the news stories, Gwynedd has done an incredible job in opening up those doors and making sure students continue their education. What could you share with the audience on that?
Well, I will tell you that I met with those families and those students the next day after that announcement came out. And there was a room full of them. And the first thing I said to them was that I wanted to acknowledge that they had been through a trauma when they heard this news. And, just to take a moment and say, I feel for what you have experienced. And, I think that kind of set the right tone with them before they heard from all the admissions counselors and the faculty and everybody else, just to say that, we understand and we're here to help you with that transition. And I will say, and this was in the summer, when some faculty aren't on contracts, but I will say that our team, our faculty, our advisors, everybody really did go out of their way to try to work with these students. Because in some cases, they were at different places in terms of their years, and their curriculum might have been a little bit different. And so we had to do some, kind of matching up. And we really did, work hard to help the students transition that wanted to. Some of them, stayed. But so I think, again, very much in line with who we are. It's very personalized attention for the students, and we want to see them succeed. And, the people who work here do so because they like that atmosphere and like helping students, like working together within this tradition of mercy.
Well, we're going to interrupt this conversation for an in-episode of the EdUp Either Or experience. And if you've been listening to the podcast lately, you know that I've been messing around with my guest and guest co-host by doing the EdUp Either Or experience. And this is where I'm going to give you a phrase, a word, A or B, and you're going to tell me which one you like better, which one sounds better. You can elaborate. Some of these are designed to learn more about you as a leader, and some are higher education focused and on the words we use and why we use them. And let me see if I got my thinking music on. Let's see. Here we go. Can you hear the thinking music? Can anybody hear any music? Okay, we're gonna turn it up.
I hear the music. I feel like I'm on Millionaire.
I hear it now.
Okay.
So Joe, you better pay up.
If you don't choose A or B, hold on, let me loop this. If you don't choose A or B, you owe me $5.
This might be the worst game show ever.
I don't know if I hear the music anymore, but I'll add it later if it doesn't come through. Yeah, no, if you don't answer right, you owe me money, Robert. This is how I play. This is my game. All right, we're gonna start with Frilly because he's giving me a hard time. We're gonna start with Frilly. Okay. Frilly, here we go. Elvin Freitas or Joe Salustio?
Oh, Joe Salustio, of course.
See now, yeah, that's Elvin. No offense, my friend, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Okay, we're gonna go over to Deanne. Here we go. Deanne, Bursar or student accounts?
Student accounts.
What's a Bursar? Define it for me. Don't actually do that.
We had this conversation on my campus.
Did you?
Yes.
Well, tell us about it real fast.
People don't know what it means yet.
Exactly. You can't blueprint. Right. All right, here we go. Well, this will be for both of you. Frilly, standing desk or sitting desk?
As you can see, I'm sitting.
Me too.
Two sitters. We got two sitters. Okay. All right, we'll get a little bit of fun here. Is my music still going?
Yes.
All right. Here we go. We're gonna go, Deanne. We're gonna go council or committee? Committee. Frilly, council or committee?
Can I throw them both out?
For $5 that you'll owe me.
It's worth the $5.
Okay, I like that. Okay. Deanne, over to you. Should we unlearn or relearn?
Go with relearn. You're always learning. It's constant. So relearn.
Frilly, unlearn or relearn?
Relearn. Yeah, education's a lifelong journey.
Okay, so you see they're getting progressively more interesting here. Deanne, student first or meet students where they are? Frilly.
I'm going to meet students where they are.
Interesting. See, very, very interesting words and phrases and how we use these things. Okay.
Agreed.
Deanne, early morning meeting or late afternoon meeting?
Early morning.
Frilly, I'm going to go late afternoon.
Look, we're matching on the newlywed game. Early morning.
All right. We'll do a few more since I see you guys are having fun now. Frilly, power skills or durable skills?
Look, I'm paying another $5.
I'm getting rich on Farilli here. Deanne,
Look, I'm in for 20. I got 4 more to give away.
Okay, good. Save that for me. Deanne, you know we talk about these soft skills all the time. Are they power skills or durable skills?
I've heard either of those terms.
Look, I could cover you if you want to throw them out too.
So $5 then from Gwynedd Mercy University. Okay, we'll move on.
Okay.
How about we'll do a fun one here. Dot the I's. Deanne, we'll go to you first. Dot the I's and cross the T's, or the devil's in the details.
I always say devil's in the details.
See that, Farilli?
Look, I thought it was going to be dot the I's and cross the T's, but
It's both. It's all of the above. All of the above.
Okay, we'll do another fun one. Deanne, table that, or let's circle back.
Circle back.
Farilli?
circle back.
Okay. All right. So we'll go. How about this one, Farilli? Micro credentials or skill stacking?
Micro credentials.
Deanne?
Yeah, I would say that too.
Okay. All right. I see. You guys see how this works now. All right. We'll go. Deanne, last one to you. Student services or student success?
We have both of those areas on campus. And I think about areas when you said them both. But student success, I mean, right? That's the thing we want.
I heard both, though, which would be an additional 5. Or are we going to...
No, she clearly
an
said
area
student
called
success.
and an area called student services.
All right. Fine. I won't add to the tab.
Stop trying to squeeze somebody for $5.
All right. Farilli, we're going to do this one for you. Eat lunch or skip lunch?
Skip lunch.
Deanne, eat lunch or skip lunch?
I mean, I never skip lunch. Yeah.
That is me as well. Never skip lunch. All right, last one. I like doing these. Deanne, culture or strategy? Farilli, culture or strategy?
Culture, eat strategy for lunch.
I know the quote. But
It's actually for breakfast.
Drucker, right? Isn't that whose quote it is?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Another episode of the Either Or experience, where you've learned more about Farilli and about Deanne D'Amelio, including who eats lunch and who doesn't, and maybe some of the ways they think about using higher ed terminology. A little fun ditty. You guys have fun?
Very, very fun.
Good.
Absolutely.
The why I do that, why I decided to start doing that, is because we have so many terms, Deanne, that we use in higher ed. Inside baseball, bursar and student accounts is one of my favorite ones, because you ask a kid or even an adult, what's a bursar, and they just go, I don't know, I just want to pay my bill. Why do I have to navigate the structure of higher education to perform basic functions? You don't have to call manufacturing at Amazon. You don't have to call distribution. You don't have to call payment. You just do it. And it gets taken care of. Can you talk about the role of technology? Is my music's not playing anymore, is it? Did it stop?
No,
I think
you're
it stopped.
good.
All right. Can you talk about the role of technology? And the reason I ask is because being a president over the last 7 years, cresting COVID and AI, has to be one of the most interesting times and challenging times to be a college president. Talk about technology, what you see, what's coming.
So interesting. I know Robert will find this interesting. So I think there's a couple of sort of different ways to look at it. The technology that we use here to get our work done has been challenging here at times. And the systems, that we have a whole bunch of different systems, and having them work together to create the information, the data that we need to, not have all these repeat processes and people doing stuff manually and all that, so that's happened. And so we've been trying to, I would say, get to a point where technology is really part of our strategy and reaching our goals, in our strategic plan, with a sort of technology plan as well. And then the other piece that you mentioned is really on the education side. And we already have a pretty robust computer information science program that has AI honestly, that has the cybersecurity, all of that. But we're looking to do more, and especially within that healthcare space, because we know that the AI is going to have a role as far as healthcare, robotics, all of that.
Artificial intelligence.
Very exciting on in terms of education, but on the, again, operations side, technology has such great potential to help us be a better, a more effective organization. But we're still working. I mean, I think every organization I know is working on technology in higher education. But anyway, it has great potential on both fronts.
Thanks for breaking it down that way, because you're right. There's the internal systems we use. There's what technology looks like for students in the future that has nothing to do with whether our CRM system works or not. It has everything to do with what program we're going to design or how we're looking at technology 10 years from now. But if we don't get the business done internally with technology, it's really hard to service a student externally. So thanks for making that designation, because I think a lot of times we pick one or the other, and you have to run both at the same time. What is the job to be done 5 years from now? 5 years ago, it was coding. Now AI codes for you. The whole entire coding career blew up in 2 seconds. Didn't it, Robert? He's going to say no.
I mean, look, what I will say is we have a very unique challenge, and I think this is where education plays a role. It makes experts better. That's what AI does today. We are struggling with some of our beginner programmers and their adoption and use of AI because they don't have the critical lens that an expert has. And when I look at AI as it exists today, and today is probably the worst AI that we'll ever work with.
Right.
But it's kind of like Tesla Copilot. You have to keep your hands on the wheel at all times. But if you don't know how to drive, it's no good.
Do you think I could ever get a Robert Ferrilli AI co-host for this podcast?
There is a Rob Ferrilli AI. I'll be happy to share him with you at another time. He's actually weighs more than I do. I've lost some weight since we've created Rob AI.
Well, technology is also complicated because there's a lot of bright, shiny toys out there, Deanne. And as a college president, you got to sift. I mean, there's like a sifting process and it's really easy for staff, and I know this from experience too, to go, we need this, President Emilio. We have to have this or else this doesn't work. What do you do here? What's the secret to bringing on, managing, selecting? How do you think about that? Because there's always something that somebody needs, right?
Yes, you are 100% correct.
You had that quote happen today. Somebody said, we got to have it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the time of the year when we're all passing our budgets,
Yeah.
So yes, it's very recent for me as well. The first thing I do is I listen. It's really important for me to understand what it is, the thing is that they need and why, and so I listen, and then I look at all the information, and then I look at priorities. What are our priorities in the coming year or the 3-year plan or whatever window? And are these things that are being requested or the resources that are being requested going to help us achieve those priorities? And of course, always with the focus, the lens on students, being student-centered. Is it aligned with who we are? Those kinds of things. So I do use what I would call the sort of larger lens of mission and priorities. And of course, finances. Can we do it? Not do we want to, but that all has to align, So, I mean, I've done that as president. I did it when I was provost, but number one is listening and understanding exactly what it is that's being requested and why.
Good tip. Thank you for that. Rob, you want to ask Deanne any final questions before we give her the 2 to end?
Oh, well, there's one that's kind of been on my mind, and I saw that you were on Amazon's campus tour,
Oh, the college tour,
The
yes.
college tour. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I gotta assume that's not gotta help with enrollment.
Yeah, so we, decided that we were going to, be on Amazon's The College Tour. And what a great experience it was. And our students, the thing that really stuck out to me, I have to tell you, Robert, is they were on campus for a week and they filmed these 10 students like all over campus, all different majors and so forth. Certainly highlighted our beautiful campus as well. But these students wrote their own scripts. And when you watch them, it's, I was just inspired by listening to them. So yes, the idea is obviously to get the word out about how great Gwynedd Mercy is, but also, when they hear from students directly, that is the best advertisement we could ever have, is hearing from our students who are, like I said, really doing great things, and talking about their experience here, which has been very positive across the board. So yeah, it was fun, and something different. And yes, they actually interviewed me and I think the AVP for enrollment in addition to the 10 students.
No, I got to see the episode. It was incredible.
Oh, great. I'm so glad. I'm glad you watched it and you liked it.
The best marketing ever to bet is the student who says, I love it here. Cannot buy that. It is influencer marketing at its finest. We need more of that for sure.
Yes.
In higher ed. Because students do, right? For every person that goes, oh, higher ed doesn't have value, there's 9 silent people that go, my degree was great.
Right.
Those are the people that don't talk about it as much, and we have to highlight those stories of those people that have gone on to do great things. And so I really appreciate that. That brings us back to that whole value conversation. But, I do want to be sensitive to your time because I could talk about that value conversation forever because it bothers me. Obviously, it gets under my skin. But I want to give you the mic. Deanne, this is an open mic moment. I want you to talk about, what did we not say? What do we need to know? Anything we did not cover about Gwynedd Mercy University that you want to say, no direction, take it from here, and then we'll ask you one more and close it out.
Okay, well, I wanted to just expand a little bit on what I was talking about earlier about who we are, our heritage, our mission, and what makes us different. And that this really kind of ties in also to the value of higher education. And this is a quote really from one of our former vice presidents, who is now a trustee and is a Sister of Mercy. When we were talking about, this was a few years ago, that, what was going on in the world, but it would certainly be applicable now with what's going on in the world. And what she said was, what we teach here, how we teach here, and the values are the antidote to what's going on in the world.
100%
to do that. So, that's what I want to say about what we do here at Gwynedd Mercy. That is truly the antidote to all of the really just negative things that are going on in the world.
It's a great way. It's a great way to put it. The antidote
I got the
to
chills.
Yeah. To incivility, right? It's the antidote to incivility. And we're seeing it play out. We're seeing it play out on college campuses and people coming into college campuses that shouldn't be on a college campus, working people up. And so we have to critically think, what do you see for the future of higher education, Deanne? This is the crystal ball moment.
Well, I'm still optimistic. An optimist by nature. So, I have great faith in the students. I certainly see the future of higher education and the strength returning, the narrative reversing. Everything is cyclical. So I think, we just keep doing what we're doing and the narrative will change because the outcomes are there. The power of higher education is not going to change as we move forward. And with AI or whatever, technology or innovation comes along, folks in higher ed are smart. So we're going to figure out how to use it to help educate the next generation of students. So I'm optimistic despite the narrative right now, I'm optimistic about higher education in the future.
I love that. I love the passion. Rob, what'd you think of this conversation with President D'Amelio?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, like I said, that last statement about the teachings being the antidote really kind of sent chills down my spine. And I mean, that's what education is all about. And, how we could lift each other up and work together to make the world a better place. And so I'm excited about Gwynedd and its mission and its students, and excited that we have a whole bunch of new graduates out there in the world.
Yes.
Spreading that mercy and the mission of the institution and to the service of society. So I'm beyond words.
Thank you, Robert.
That is my guest co-host, everyone. He is the CEO and founder of Farilli. He is Rob Farilli, and he's got one heck of a Ed Up mug in his hand.
Oh yeah,
And they have $30 now for every time he shows it. Appreciate you, Rob, and hopefully
we're break even on either or.
Yes, we are. We're break even. My guest today, she's your guest today, and her passion has come through as she talks about her university and the students. Her name is Deanne D'Amelio. She is the president of Gwynedd Mercy University, and she's an amazing leader. Deanne, we hope you had a good time here on the podcast as you got to talk about your university.
I did. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Rob. It was really great to speak with both of you.
There you have it, everybody. You've just Ed Upped.